Level 1, the associate. You are nobody yet. Not a member, not a soldier, just a name someone vouched for. You run errands. You collect small debts from men who flinch when you knock. You don't ask questions about where the money goes after you hand it over. You learn the rules by watching, not by being told, because nobody explains anything to an associate directly. You are 23 years old. You grew up 2 blocks from the social club where the real conversations happen, the ones you're not invited to yet. Your cousin got you in. He vouched for you with his own name, which means your failure is now partially his failure too. You work a legitimate job during the day, a warehouse, because every associate needs a cover. At night you do the actual work. Moving packages you don't open. Driving men to meetings you're not allowed inside. You wait in the car for 3 hours sometimes. You don't complain. Complaining is for people who think they have leverage, and you have none. The pay is inconsistent. Some weeks a fat envelope. Some weeks you're told to be patient. You learn patience is not a virtue here. It's a tax you pay before you're allowed to ask for anything. You watch the soldiers above you. They have cars. They have respect. Men nod at them on the street in a way nobody nods at you. You want that. You don't know yet what it costs. Level 2, the soldier. You got made, not officially, not yet, but you've been told you're a soldier now, which means you carry weight you didn't carry before. You have your own crew of associates underneath you, kids who remind you of yourself a year ago. You're responsible for a piece of territory. Extortion payments from 12 businesses on a 6-block stretch. A bookmaking operation behind a barber shop. You collect, you report up, you take your cut, and the cut is bigger now. You bought a car, used but clean, paid in cash because cash is the only currency that doesn't leave a trail. You moved out of your mother's house. Nobody asks where the money came from because everyone on your block already knows. The violence is real now, not theoretical. You've had to hurt someone, not kill, but hurt enough to make a point. You didn't enjoy it. You also didn't hesitate. That split is the exact shape of what you've become. Your family thinks you work logistics for a shipping company. Your mother believes this because she needs to. Your girlfriend doesn't ask questions because asking is its own kind of danger. You start to understand that loyalty up the chain matters more than loyalty to anyone outside it. That's the trade. That's always the trade. Level 3, the made man. The ceremony happened. The blood, the burning paper, the oath that you cannot leave this life except in a box. It sounds theatrical until you're the one saying the words, and then it stops being theater and becomes the only contract you've ever signed that you actually believe in. You are part of the family now, formally, permanently. This changes everything about how you're treated. You can't be touched by another crew without permission from the top, an unwritten rule everyone respects because the alternative is war. You run your own operations now, not just collecting, but deciding which businesses get protected, which debts get forgiven, which get enforced. You have 10 men reporting to you. Their families eat because of decisions you make. You make more in a month than your father made in a year of construction work, and he worked construction for 30 years. You send him money he won't ask the origin of. You buy your mother a house outright, and she cries and doesn't ask how. The FBI has a file on you now. You don't know how thick it is, but you know it exists because everyone at this level knows it exists. You start talking in code on phones you replace every few months. You stop trusting rooms you haven't checked yourself. The paranoia isn't a malfunction, it's a survival mechanism. Level 4, the caporegime. You run a crew now, 10 made men under you, each with their own soldiers and associates beneath them. The structure beneath you is an organization in its own right. You report to one man, the consigliere or the boss, and that's the only direction you owe anything to. Your income has changed in scale entirely. 6 figures a year, sometimes 7, depending on how the rackets run. Gambling, loan sharking, union influence, construction kickbacks, a piece of every legitimate business in your territory that needs your protection to stay legitimate. You launder most of it through restaurants, a construction company, a chain of laundromats that genuinely makes money on its own, which is the best kind of front because it doesn't even feel like lying. You have a lawyer on retainer who specializes exclusively in clients like you, expensive and worth every dollar. You sit in on meetings now where the family decides whether to go to war with a rival crew, where the math of violence gets calculated the way other businesses calculate quarterly projections. You've ordered things you don't talk about, not to your wife, not to your priest, not to anyone. Some decisions you carry alone, because sharing them makes another person a liability. Level 5, the consigliere. You are the advisor now, the man the boss trusts to tell him the truth when everyone else tells him what he wants to hear. The boss needs someone without an agenda of his own, someone who isn't angling for the throne, and you've spent 15 years proving you're exactly that. You don't run a crew anymore. Your power isn't in soldiers, it's in proximity, in the fact that your opinion shapes decisions that move millions and decide whether men live or die. You mediate disputes between capos who would otherwise go to war over a few blocks. You negotiate with other families when peace is more profitable than conflict, which is most of the time. You understand something most men in this life never learn. Violence is a failure of negotiation, not a tool of first resort. The trust took 2 decades to build and could be destroyed by a single bad piece of advice. The boss trusts your judgment so completely that when you tell him not to do something, he usually listens. You live more comfortably than almost anyone except the boss, but you live quietly. Conspicuous wealth at your level invites exactly the kind of attention that gets organizations dismantled. You drive a sedan. You live in a normal house in a normal neighborhood. The money is real. It's just invisible, structured to make you look unremarkable to anyone checking. Level 6, the underboss. You are the second most powerful man in the family, running daily operations while the boss handles the larger strategic relationships, the alliances with other families above the street level. Every capo answers to you before anything reaches the boss directly. You've built a filtering system, absorbing the small problems and escalating only what genuinely requires the top. This makes you indispensable and also the most obvious target if anyone wants to destabilize the family from within. You've started keeping records the boss doesn't know about, not as betrayal, but as insurance, because loyalty up the chain has to be balanced against the possibility that loyalty down the chain might be needed someday for your own survival. Your money is generational now. Your children go to private schools where nobody knows what their father does, or everyone knows and nobody says anything. You've started thinking about succession, about who takes over when the boss steps down or dies, and you've realized, with the discomfort you share with no one, that you might be that person, and that the men below you who once called you a mentor are calculating whether they'd support you or move against you when that moment comes. Level 7, the boss. You run the family. Every decision of consequence ends with you. Every dollar of significant money answers to your authority. Every war or peace gets decided in a room where you have the final word. The man before you died of natural causes, which counts as a small miracle in this life, and the succession happened smoothly because you'd spent years making sure it would. You sit atop an organization that generates more money in a year than most mid-sized legitimate companies, except none of it appears on any balance sheet regulators can examine cleanly. You have men whose entire job is protecting you, men you trust with your life because you have to trust someone, even knowing this life is littered with bosses who trusted the wrong man. You carry a weight nobody beneath you fully understands. Every rival family, every task force, every ambitious capo within your own organization is calculating, constantly, whether you're worth more to them alive or dead. You sleep with a gun within reach. You vary your routine deliberately, never the same restaurant twice in a week, because predictability is how bosses end up in newspapers instead of in power. Level 8, the legend. You've survived 20 years at the top, a historical anomaly, because most men who reach this position get indicted, get killed, or get forced into retirement before they see this kind of longevity. You're not just powerful anymore, you're mythologized. Younger men tell stories about decisions you made decades ago, as if watching history unfold. Federal prosecutors have built entire careers trying and failing to convict you, and every failed case adds to a reputation you never asked for. You've outlived 3 rival bosses, 2 task forces assembled specifically to take you down, and 1 attempt on your own life that you survived through luck more than planning. Your family, the actual family, not the criminal organization, has fractured under the weight of who you are. Your children grew up with bodyguards instead of normal childhoods, and some resent you for it quietly, in ways you sense but they never say out loud. You've buried friends from the associate days who didn't make it to the rank you reached, and at every funeral you stand a little further from the casket than you used to, because at this level, even grief gets calculated for who might be watching. Level 9, the ghost. You stepped back, not retired exactly, because men at your level don't get to retire cleanly, but you've handed daily operations to someone else and exist now mostly as a name invoked rather than a man making decisions. The younger generation calls you for advice they sometimes take and sometimes politely ignore, and you've made peace with the ignoring, because forcing your will on an organization you no longer actively run is how old bosses get themselves killed by their own people. The federal government still watches you out of habit, even though you haven't given them anything actionable in years. You live mostly out of the public eye, in a house your grandchildren visit on weekends, and they know vaguely what their grandfather was, the way children know vague shapes of things adults don't fully explain. You think about the men who didn't make it this far more than you think about your own accomplishments. The associate killed in his 20s over a debt that wasn't even his. The soldier who took a plea deal and disappeared into witness protection. You were lucky, more than you were good, though you'd never say that to anyone still active in the life, because admitting luck is the one thing this world refuses to forgive. Level 10, the myth. You are gone now, or close enough that it amounts to the same thing. Your name appears in books written by people who never met you, films that romanticize a version of your life bearing only loose resemblance to what actually happened. Federal agents who spent careers trying to bring you down have retired themselves, written memoirs mentioning you as the case that defined their professional regret. The organization you built has fractured, splintered, reformed under leadership that operates differently than you did, in ways you watch from a distance with something between pride and grief. Younger men who knew you only by reputation tell stories that exaggerate everything, turn decisions you made out of necessity into legend, turn violence you regretted into folklore other men admire. You think, sometimes, about the 23-year-old who ran errands and waited in cars for 3 hours without complaining, who wanted the respect the soldiers got without understanding what it would eventually cost him. You wonder if you could tell him anything that would change his path. You know you couldn't. The life chose you as much as you chose it, and by the time you understood what you traded away, quiet mornings, normal friendships, the right to walk anywhere without calculating who might be watching, the trade was already made and couldn't be undone. Somewhere, right now, in a city you've never visited, a 23-year-old is running an errand for a man he barely knows, waiting to be vouched for, hoping for a life he doesn't yet understand the price of. He will not become you. Almost none of them do. But he will try.